Hello, my good friends. How are you? How was your weekend? I just want to say if you are watching this video on YouTube, that means you're watching the broadcast later. And I do leave some time at the beginning for people to hop on, so you're going to want to fast forward through. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, I want to mention that I do not read comments on YouTube. So if you have a specific question or comment, you need to reach out to me via other methods. So just keep that in mind on YouTube. And I don't edit these videos for YouTube. They just go straight on exactly the way the live broadcast is. So I realize it's not a very slick, polished YouTube format, but that's what I have time for. So our store spotlight today, I see Linda pop on. Linda is here with, is it Valley Stamp and Scrap? I don't know the official name of your store. Make sure you support your spotlight stores and shop and keep them alive. We have, Linda's going to post links and Linda's going to post her social media. I got to teach for the first time at Linda's store last year. We had an absolute blast. It was totally fun. And I'm booked to go back. So hopefully we can still make that happen. I am feeling better. I really think it was allergies. I had an icky cough and head was just burning. And then I added an additional allergy medicine to the allergy medicine I already take, and I feel tons better. So the Palo Verde trees here are in bloom, and I am horribly allergic to the Palo Verde blooms. And yeah, Valley Stamp and Scrap. I didn't know if it was Scrap and Stamp, Linda. Valley Stamp and Scrap. It is in Wisconsin, a wonderful shop. Nina is a full service shop. She's got all kinds of deliciousness. So, Linda, make sure you post your social links, your website link, pipe in constantly with what you've got and your shipping policies as well. That would be fantastic. That would be awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, Linda is amazing. And Linda has the Pomskis, the puppies that I love, Oliver and Sasha. They're such sweet little doggies. So yes, Linda is fantastic, energetic, tons of fun, and she's just great. So Linda, make sure you're posting your links and all of that deliciousness. So today's topic is metallic paint. And as I did this, I thought this might have been the most stupid subject for me, because it's not like I'm like a big technique person. Some people just love all kinds of techniques. And, you know, you make art because the techniques are just really fun to play with. And I'm not, I like basic techniques. So, you're going to watch this and be like, okay, I know 100 million more things than Dina does, or that Dina showed, but I can only show you the way I use them. Tim has tons of cool techniques for the metallics that are in his line, so make sure you check that out as well. And a lot of the techniques that he does might be cross-applicable, so you try them with different media and stuff like that. So there are 6 metallics in the line, and I did a little sample on the paper because it does help to see the way the metallics look on paper versus through the bottles. So there's penny, which is like a copper, gilt, which is gold, ancient, which is kind of like a bronze. There's definitely some more brown in the ancient than the others. Rosy, which is supposed to be kind of a rose gold. It's a cool rose gold is what I'll say. So it definitely isn't super, super warm. Anyway, people seem to be obsessed with rosy. Medieval, which is a kind of like a gunmetal or a dark pewter color, and then sterling, which is a bright silver. So these are the 6 colors, and thought I'd show you just some of my favorite ways to use them. You guys, like I said, are going to know way more ways that I know. So, of course, the most obvious way is to take something that you're creating. So this is a page that I tore out of a journal a long time ago, and add top texture. So top texture is what I call when you add little elements to pieces of art to make them pop, right? And it can be anything. It can be through a stencil. It can be through, it could be stamping. Just the little bits on top that draw the eye. And so there's something special about little metallic marks that are on or near or around your focal point. Remember the cardinal rule of overlapping, that I'm not gonna float top texture out into the corners, that everything that goes on at the end like this supports the focal point. And I love that. So this is probably one of the most common ways that I use them, is just little pops of metal that shine on pieces that are pretty much finished. I painted a flower earlier, and I don't know if you can see that I've already swiped some metallics. I have, I think, gilt and sterling in the flower. So, you know, you add it for a few swipes to draw the eye, and then it just makes cool. Some people love, like, our metallics. People, they just, you know, the metallics are your jam. And you know, I'll be in class and people will be using metallics in cool ways, and I'll be like, oh man, I never thought of that. Because I tend to have a very simple effect. But remember, a metallic is going to reflect light. So it's going to be like a highlight. So this was a little floral tag that I found this in my bin, my collage bin, actually. So I must have done that at some point. And then just a few swipes of that. Instead of having a white highlight, you're going to have a metallic highlight, right? So super basic. But what happens if you take your metallics then and start with them instead of finish with them? And what happens is deliciousness. So this is just a tag, manila tag. I painted it with penny, which is the coppery color. And then I'm going to see where the heck I put my stencil. Oh no, I'm going to use the mask. I'm going to use this mask, and I'm going to use turquoise. A lot of metallic techniques have to do with creating patinas, because, ooh, look, I'm getting my skins off the the craft mat. They look cool. Look at this skin. Hold on. Attention deficit. Oh, squirrel a little bit. Isn't that a cool skin? The metallics and then the whatever paint was already on there. So we'll have to save that for a second. Deliciousness. All right, so I'm going to take turquoise, and you know, a very common patina is copper and turquoise. Verdigris, it's very Arizona, it's very Southwest. And so I know that turquoise is going to look really nice with this copper peeking through the background. So instead of starting with whatever color that you might be tempted to start with, that, oh, I did such a bad job painting that, as one does, as Dina does. You end up with that deliciousness coming through the bottom layer. Because, you know, I think we think of metallics as easy to add those highlights on the top, but then you're going to get a totally different effect if you are starting with your metallic instead of ending with your metallic. And I just thought that was so pretty. I did this one earlier, and I left a little more white space. But that then becomes the perfect place for a collage. And another thing that I love, love, love to do is to take pieces of tissue that I've painted on and put any excess metallic paint that you've been playing with all over the tissue. So make yourself some collage tissues. Here, these ones I used just a brush and made polka dots. These tissue, I put several different metallics through a stencil, and then this one is through a stencil, and then also just press the mini blending tool right on there, right? And then this way I can tear bits of this metal and have this as, you know, start building my layers by mixing these different metallics through different forms. So like when you create a page, you know, we're often trying to switch our media so that we are adding different incarnations. One time you paint it, one time you stamp it, you use this color in 4 ways kind of thing. And when you do that with the metallics, it's just a lovely effect. So by putting this tissue on, this little frond is going to become background, right? Because I'm going to cover it up a little bit. But I love the bits, tiny bits of metallic popping through. I think the metallic smells really good. I always would tell people to sniff the metallic paint. It kind of smells minty. That's why when Melinda popped on earlier, she goes, I wish I could smell that. Or I think you said, Melinda, smell-o-vision, right? Because they have a minty smell. And one time I was teaching at a shop in Sacramento area, and Sandy's husband, the owner of that shop, it's now closed, but Sandy's husband is a chemist. And I said to him, okay, I always tell people to sniff my paint. Am I doing bad? Am I doing bad things? Asking them to sniff. Are they missing brain cells because I tell everybody to sniff the paint? And he said, no, it was fine. So Sandy's husband says we can sniff the paint. Raina asked if the gel medium dulls the shine. You know, I'm putting the medium on so thin, and I think the shine is still there just fine. I'm not doing a good job gluing today. It's just one of those Tuesdays that feels like a Monday. I really like the mini blending tool press. What did I do with the rest of that? I obviously just had it in my hand because I just tore it. You don't have to glue with your finger if you don't want to. So what I would do is apply some of that background tissue, and then what I want to do is I want to repeat that. I want to repeat that frond in different ways so that I end up with a layered piece that has that imagery there with lots of different iterations. So let's see. Now I'm turning to the stencil part. So this was the mask that we started with. Now I'm going to do the stencil. And should we stick with metallic? Sure. I'm going to use Medieval, which is like a dark sort of gunmetal pewtery color. And I'm going to use the same blending tool that had the turquoise all over it. And I'm going to add a few of the fronds right over. And hopefully that one in the background, that frond in the background is going to still peek through. It smells so good. He even told me what it was that was making it smell, and I can't remember what it was. He said, oh, that's a butyl something something, and it won't hurt yet. I'm like, oh, good, because I purposely sniff the metallic paint. I think it smells so good, you guys. All right, so don't you like how that mask at the beginning has that beautiful penny, that beautiful copper coming through, and then we've got more metallic elements that are reflecting all of that light, and then I've got the Medieval, the dark metallic, dark gray metallic on top, and so it just makes a really pretty foundation. And then, you know, maybe you're done. You absolutely can get the fronds. You can get them at Art from the Heart in the UK. And if he's out of them, ask Ben to order them on his next order, because he orders from Ranger almost weekly. They're still available for sure, but Art from the Heart will have them, and if they don't, they'll be on order. All right. Was there another question? Yes, they're non-toxic. All of my stuff is non-toxic. I love to use my finger to glue because then you don't, it's easier to wipe glue off a finger than it is to get glue out of a brush. Getting glue out of a brush is a disaster. So, yeah, that's not my favorite. Oop, that was still wet, and I just smeared it, and I say my favorite words. Oops, oh well. All right. Now, that could be done. That could be, you know, that with a phrase. I think that would count just fine. Or I could put a stamped image on there. I'm going to just staple that on, maybe. I look out and there's no stapler. Oop! That's probably what just fell. But I like the tag on there. What do you guys think? Or not the tag, I like the stamped image on there. I think it's nice. We'll just glue it on with paint. You know, paint is glue, right? All right, so there's my stamped image. I feel like I need some color pop on there. So I'm going to Speckle. So don't forget, Valley Stamp and Scrap is our spotlight store for the day in Wisconsin. She's posting all of her links, so make sure you follow. She's got quite a bit of Dina stuff. So I was using my gel medium to glue the tissue down, and there is a beautifully layered tag. So then I started thinking, what happens if I embed the metallic in the middle of a layering process? So not begin with it and not end with it. And so let's do that. Let's do it on this tag. All right. So this is gloss spray that I was messing around with the other day. And I'm going to just start stenciling, but not with metallic paint. So let's see. There's already a lot of pink happening there. We're going to do some ocean. I'm going to use these words. All right. So I'm gonna stencil the words over and over, but I'm gonna start with non-metallic first. And ocean paint on this background. It can be plain. This one just happened to have been a blot. I blotted off from some tissue that I was playing with yesterday, or I don't even know what I did yesterday at this point. So start with a color. Perfect. Now I'm going to add my metallic. Oh, let me tell you something else I did, you guys. Sorry, attention deficit little squirrel. Remember I said I only had one of these tips when I did the fine line tip video? I went and was looking for something else in the studio. I just have to show you what I found. Seriously, I have dozens of these tips. So anyway, I am happy now that I've got a tip on the penny. But I just thought, Dina, seriously, you don't even know what you have in here. I also found more white journals. So remember I was saying I couldn't find my white journal, or I was out of white journals. Oh yeah, I found about 5 of them back in the dark recesses of the closet. All right, so I'm moving from ocean, and then I am moving to penny, which is copper. Penny's probably my most used one, and I'm not really sure, though lately I've been in a big gilt mood. So by putting the metallic, sandwiching it in the middle, it's gonna just have this really great layered effect. All right, I'm gonna blot my mini blending tool a little bit and pick one more color. Let's see, let's do fuchsia. Fuchsia, fuchsia. What are these tags actually meant for? I get that question a lot. Like, what do you do with the tags? I use them as cards. I use them as focal points in my journals mostly. It's much easier to work on a tag. It's a lot less intimidating than like a big journal page. And sometimes I'll cut the tags up. I actually have a feeling this is eggplant and not fuchsia. It is. Works good too. And that's how I like to use tags. I use them as card fronts or layering. They really help layer in a journal page. Focus down your area. So for example, if I did this, doesn't that look cool, you guys? Seriously, look how cool the penny looks as the middle layer. I'm kind of in love with that lately, is having that as a middle layer. So then what I'll do is, I always put these in giant piles, and then when I feel like creating, I will come back and turn to a page and be like, okay, this is going to be my focal area, and I might have a stamped image that ends up on there like that. Let's just go ahead and glue that. For some quick color, I'm going to turn to gloss spray. I'm going to wish that I knew where my stapler was. We're going to use ultra thick to glue. Ooh, dropped it. So it's almost like forced white space, you guys. If you use a tag, and then this is going to be the foundation, the layered foundation for your page, you're not going to fill this in except maybe with a little accent or color or something like that. But the tag becomes the layers for the page. And then notice how well I stamped her. So I stamped her, and then I dropped the other stamp on top of her. And so she's got lines in her hair, and I just, you know me, I don't care. Oh, you guys. Oh, a few other housekeeping things. I did finish editing my new online class. It's a traditional class, not a live Facebook class. And it is a class about painting abstracts. So it is edited. My husband, who is already working like more than full-time hours at his job, so when I handed it to him, he was kind of like, oh, okay, seriously, because he has to do all the back end work. But he did start uploading the videos for me. And so it'll be in a couple of days, hopefully that will be ready to go. But don't you love that metallic little layer peeking through the middle layer instead of foundation or top? Another one of my favorite things to do with the metallic paint is speckle with it. I always tell everybody, you'll fall in love with it if you speckle with it. So what I do is I'm gonna take a big blob of paint. I'm gonna add a lot of water to it. It needs to be able to flow right off your brush, okay? If it doesn't flow off your brush, you haven't added enough water. It has to be kind of milky. Oop, apparently I'm mixing some other colors in there as well. And then when you flick, it's going to look, first it's going to, especially if you're using one of the metallics that are gold or copper or bronze, it's going to look a little brown. And then as that water evaporates, that shine of the pigment is going to remain, and it looks like stars in the sky. So it's just super fun. Yeah, this is a size 10 tag. But don't get caught up on sizes. The sizes don't matter. But then this is the one we did earlier. I just love, love, love this. So again, this one was starting with the metallic and then adding the same shape on top and with a stamped image. I mean, that's going to look great in a journal, isn't it? I just love, love, love working on tags. They're inexpensive. They're not intimidating. They have two sides. So if you screw up one side, flip it over and paint on the other side. All right, before I move on, any questions about what I've just did? The abstract class has 2 hours of video, and it's going to be $1 million. I'm just kidding. It'll probably be about $30. Yeah, metallic pox. I love some metallic pox. Where do you get the fine tip applicator you just showed? So again, it's really hard for me to answer specific questions about where to get things because I don't know which stores have what in stock. Linda from Valley Stamp and Scrap is our spotlight store of the day. And so Linda can pop in and let us know if she has any of them. If not, check with the stores in your area. because one of my absolute favorite things with this fine line tip is to outline. And I did a whole video on using these, so I'm not going to repeat that. It was the video on Thursday was the fine line tip video, where I give you all of the different hints and tricks for using these fine line tips, and I extensively explain them. So that is happening on, or that was last Thursday's video, so you can go back and watch it. But doesn't that look cool? Just a really quick dimensional. So remember, that tip is going to stay dimensional, or the tip is going to, that thick paint is going to stay dimensional coming out in that fine tip. Like I said in that video last Thursday, there's something special about the metallic paints with the fine line on it. I just, I'll come back and add polka dots. And remember they'll look like little Hershey's Kisses when you first put them on. And then when I flick the bottom of the tag, it'll flatten the Hershey's Kisses and they'll look kind of like an enamel dot. And then I very often just use the metallic to scribble words on things. So I flick the bottom, that flattens that Hershey's Kiss point, and they just look like a really cool enamel dot, and they will dry exactly like that. So do this sort of thing last, because the dry time is going to be a bit longer than, just a brush stroke. Isn't that pretty? Those flowers in the vase with a few little accents, a few little swipes of metallic. It just gives it a finish. Think of metallic, when you're using the metallic this way, on the top like this, think of it as a highlight. You're using it to highlight and to draw the eye, for sure. All right. Somebody said, tell me about your bird class. So the next live class, which is which is Friday, is going to be Facebook Live. It's $15, and I'm going to teach you how I used to teach. Well, I used to teach this class all the time. We're going to make fun little scribbly birdies. So it was this class that gave me the idea for my most popular stamp set ever, which is Scribbly Birdies. But we're going to be drawing them, not stamping them. Flower painting is something that I teach as an online class. So that's on my website. Abstract Flowers is on my class. Tags are out of stock because everything's shut down. And so they're on order. Ranger was going to follow up with the order and see what's happening there. But any tag, you guys use what you got. Cut paper up, cut up cardstock. Notice this was something that I tore apart. Oh, Dina. Nothing's safe if it's in my studio, not even full journals. So Barbara, that's what I'm doing again. That very first class was the birdies in Albuquerque. Yep, that is exactly the one that we're going to do again. Do you have a online class on drawing faces? I do. It needs to be redone, something fierce, but I did quite an extensive free video of basic face drawing as well, and you can go back and find that. And then I do have an online class called Facing the Facts. Yeah, you can make your own tags, use watercolor paper, use journals, use your journal. Big journal versus a small journal. You find it challenging to switch from big to small. You just want to practice. I mean, let me think on that. Let me think if I have more specific advice for that one. That's a good question. It's really just about process and not editing yourself. And it's about that whole play process, really. All right, let me put the lid on this because here in Arizona, that's going to dry. How do you clean your work surface? Well, I don't really. This is the Tim Holtz Media Mat. So when I go to clean this, you can scrape it with a razor blade, but I put some rubbing alcohol on it, let it sit for a minute, and then 90% of it wipes right up with a rag. This is a skin. This is an acrylic skin. So acrylic paint is plastic. So when you let it dry on a surface that will release it, like this silicone mat or a Ranger craft sheet, when that paint is dry and when it's thick enough, you can pick it up. You can pick it right up off the sheet, and it's called a skin. And there are some artists who make skins on purpose. They'll mix their acrylics with different polymer mediums, and they'll spread them out and let them dry and pick them up and use them. So then you would just glue that or cut that into a shape. Or sometimes I'll take these skins and they just become a little pop of color around a background. I also like to make flowers out of them. So here's a little, this might be a Tim Holtz, I can't remember, he has several tags in his line. This might be one of the ones from his line, or it might be Diane's tags, I'm not sure. All of us have tags made out of different materials because it's just going to depend on what we like to use. I know Tim has several different options. Diane, I think her cool journal paper is available in tags. Kelly, you can correct me if I'm saying stuff that's not true. Fact check. We need a fact check. Keep in mind, I say stuff all the time and then later I'm like, okay, that wasn't true. So what I'm doing is I'm tearing the skin just into little pieces and I'm fashioning it right onto this tag with a little bit of a ultra thick gel medium in my finger. There, I have a little flower. See that? And then I can add a stem. An outline, right? Let's paint that. I'm going to paint it with turquoise in the stem because that is the color that is already on my craft sheet. That tends to be how I make decisions. What is already out? Oh, turquoise is already out. Let's use it. Oop, that is not what I thought that was. Yeah, digging around in the studio, I could not believe I found that whole bin of fine line tips. Seriously, Dina. Okay, it would have been nice to know that I had those. Diane has number 10 and 12 in black, crafted mixed media. So this could, I don't know. This was either, then maybe this is Tim's tag. I'm not sure. It's one of them because I got it from Ranger. Not really sure. But anyway, isn't that kind of fun? Let's paint. I want to give it an outline. And for some reason it wants to be yellow today. The reason I think I'm being drawn toward yellow is that there's a lot of blue and orange are opposite on the color wheel. And blue and yellow look nice. They're not opposite, but yellow's bright. Yellow will lighten things up. I can't find my yellow acrylic, so I sprayed some gloss spray on the craft sheet. Oop, and if you don't change your brush, it will still be green. So there's lots of things you can do with skins. A lot of artists do all kinds of stuff with skins. This is not staying yellow because I dragged some that color in there. Oops, oh well. My favorite colors. My favorite saying. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point, you guys. You can fill in around the skins if you think you need to. And then you've got this cool dimensional flower happening. Isn't that fun? Like that on a journal page with a quote, it would be just perfect the way it is. So Linda says she has number 5 and number 8 manilas from Ranger coming this week. Awesome. This, I don't know what size this is. 5, probably? Your birdie class. Is it a page in a journal? Tags. Or it's not a mini book. It will be journal pages. I think this must be Tim's tags. I think this is a number 5 from one of 10. Angela, so listen, this is going to disappoint you guys, and I really apologize in advance. The tag bags are sold. I made 20 of them. I put them up on my website, and they sold out in literally 7 minutes. So then I took them off because they're gone. But I can make more. So more will be coming, I promise. Just that initial wave, I put them up and I kid you not, 7 minutes later, they were gone. So that shows me there's a demand. I will try to, they were $20 including shipping. I will try to do some more. So those of you that missed it, I do apologize. I'm a pleaser, and you know me, I like everyone to be happy. So I was like, oh my gosh. That's why I took it down, because people were making comments like, they're gone already. Sorry, I'm just doing my best. I'm just one woman here in my studio doing my best. All right. Fun little tag, right? Okay. You did, Kathy. And they went out in the mail yesterday. They went out via FedEx. So those are coming. They've all been shipped. If there's one gal from Puerto Rico that didn't get shipped, where did you post? I posted on my Art of Dina Wakely page. And then I linked you to a page on my website, because I learned how to do that. So more will be coming. Eventually I'll make some more that nobody will want them. Cool? All right, let's show you another couple things with the metallics. So we've used them as a background. We've used them as a middle layer. We've used them as top layers. Why did you mute the yellow? Because it didn't really stay yellow. I don't know, I just felt like it. I wanted to have a more muted yellow to have the flower pop out. And you can still see some of the yellow coming through. I just added some white on top of it. I just felt like it. Just felt like it. Try and make 1,000. Yeah, I will. All right, so here's another idea. Take a big stencil, one that has a nice big opening. Some of my recent stencils do have really big, nice openings, which I like, because there's lots of awesome small stencils on the market, but we were kind of short on the really big ones. So I've been making bigger stencils. I know, and Diane and I had the same idea at about the same time, because I was talking about it and she was like, oh my gosh, my stencils are bigger this time too. And I'm like, great minds think alike. And then we had a good giggle over it. So within the same stencil shape, I want to layer the different metallics. So I'm putting out Rosy, I'm putting out Medieval, and it looks like I put out Gilt. Okay. Throw that foam in the water. Let's see if I'll use this one. Been going through foams today like crazy. So I do wash these foams. If you put a lot of medium on them, like my paint, you do need to wash them. So I just throw them in my paint water and I let them soak. And then when I rinse my brushes out, I wring out the foam. Technically, to take care of brushes, you should not be leaving a brush in water ever. You should wash it and immediately, you put it in the water and you swish it around to wash it, and then you shouldn't leave them in. Or if you do leave them in, your water should be no deeper than the top of the ferrule. So this is the ferrule here, okay? So that means technically my water bucket should only probably come to this point, so that otherwise water can get in there and you can actually separate your brush. And this is not care and keeping of Dina brushes, this is care and keeping of all brushes. But that said, I do let mine sit in there a long time, and it's not good for them. It can crack them a little bit, but yeah, it's just how I roll. I've cracked almost every single brush from any brand I've ever owned because I'm always leaving them. But anyway, just keep that in mind. If you ever have brushes that the glue is separating, the ferrule's coming off, just make sure you're not soaking them too long. Now, that was a few dots of Rosy, okay? I'm kind of lightly stenciling through, and then I'm going to come back and add the Medieval in a couple of the areas. I can't tell you how many brushes I've ruined. It's one of the reasons I wanted my brush line to be inexpensive, because I am so hard on a brush. I can go buy a really nice Escoda brush, and I'm still going to ruin the dang thing. So there's no point in having really, really expensive brushes for me, because I can't change my stripes. I am who I am, and I'm going to work the way I work, and that is just the bottom line. Okay, so now, in some areas through that stencil, I have Rosy. In some areas through that stencil, I have Medieval. And I like the duo tones. Let's make it a trio tone here. Add a little Gilt. take a sniff? I keep moving my stencil. I'm too high on paint fumes. It won't make you high. It's not toxic. So I'm not necessarily doing swirly gumdrops, like going through and making sure every color is through the entire shape. I'm dabbing the colors around so that the different colors are visible, making a multicolored shape. I'm going to come back with Rosy and add one more little bit, just because I feel like it. So that's going to give me a really cool two-tone feel, which I like too. So the larger the stencil, the easier it is to do more than one tone of color. And it smells so good. Let's put a fine line tip on Ancient. I'm just happy I found those because now I can go back to having every single one of my metallics have a tip. So excited. Right with the metallics. And then I would use that as a background piece, so something would get layered on top of that, or I wouldn't stamp directly on there because when this text dries, it's going to be really bumpy. But I definitely could layer tissue, collage, stamped image, stamped on cardstock. Okay, can I see this? There we go. Nice. It just seems, there's something about a metallic that seems luxe, right? Even though that background was kind of a hot mess gloss spray background, the metallics give things a luxe feel, I think, and also that patina, the patina feel as well. A lot of faux finishers use metallic pigments for different effects, aging effects, and things like that. All right, any questions on that? It's pretty basic, right? All right, now here's another thing I like to do with the metallics. So I took a palette knife and through a stencil, I call it buttering the bread. Here, I'll show you. I took a tag where I'm down to very few white ones. I've got just a couple, but not a lot. Took a tag, take a palette knife, and get yourself a really giant big scoop of metallic and go ahead and squish it on through a stencil. Let it be what it'll be. Why you have enough paint. My paint, do you see how fast my paint's turning to a skin today? Again, that Arizona dryness. This is part of the problem with my allergies, is it's dry and it's windy. And so then the allergies, if I get pneumonia if I don't take allergy medicine every day. I've had pneumonia 3 times. And then so I had to add an Astelin spray, which is a prescription spray, and I had to add a Benadryl at night in addition to the allergy medicine I take in the morning. All right, so what I did here was, it looks like I had Gilt and then Medieval through that stencil. You get that great relief because my paint has that heavy body. It will maintain its shape. You can proceed or you can let it dry. I would probably let it dry, which is why through the magic of TV, I have a couple here that I already did. So these ones are dry, nice and thick. I only used one color on these, but here you can see the 2-color mix. Isn't that pretty? I think I'm in love with the Gilt mixed with Medieval. You can make new metallics by mixing them. All right, let's spray over it now. So I'm going to use gloss spray and soak it. So remember, that spray is going to settle off the peaks of that texture, and it's going to settle down into anything that's a little bit more recessed. And then if you wanted to blot it, you could, because you could blot any spray that remains on top of that stenciled pattern, or you can leave it. And the leaving it is, this is what it looks like when it's done. So this was Rosy. done on a craft tag. And I put the rosy on and I let it dry. So the spill and right is the stencil. And then I sprayed turquoise and lime over that dried paint texture, and then I let it be. I just walked away, because sometimes, you know, you're tempted to mess with it, but if you just walk away, look how cool those elements, shiny elements, are peeking through that gloss spray. And then remember, gloss spray will stick to everything. So the way this is drying, see how I'm almost getting these cool little half moons? It's just because the tag is bending because of the moisture of the spray, and so it's going to run off in different ways, and I'm going to get really cool effects. So I just, simple and easy. I like the gloss spray over the metallics a lot. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. You can do it while your stuff, oop, that was wet. While your stuff is still wet. So I can spray over this one, but keep in mind that now I'm going to just make the dry time be a lot longer. I had to order new gloss sprays because I have been through so many bottles. So nice dark color. It's already running off the texture. So you can almost see that texture come alive and the metallic of the texture start to peek through. Oh, look at the night over the gilt. That's my favorite so far. The night over the gilt. The little gilt elements are popping through. That's so awesome. All right, set that aside to dry. I'm tempted to mess with it, but all that paint's wet, so I'm leaving it alone. Look at my restraint. It's just shocking. Another thing. Oh, look at that delicious print I'm gonna get right there. It's a little too dry already. Little Arizona, windy. Yeah, it's like little, Yvonne, exactly right. Little gold stars blinking in the night sky. Okay, what's weird is I see a face in there. There's eyes and a mouth. Did you see that, or is it just me? Do you see a face in my blob? I totally saw a face in the blob. All right, save that for something else. Cool beans. Couldn't you wipe it back some? Yep, you could totally wipe it back some if you want more metallic to show. Keep in mind though, this one's wet. So this one I hadn't let dry. If you had let it dry, like this one I let dry, you can wipe it back because that metallic underlayer is dry. This one I sprayed while those blobs are still really wet. So if I wipe that back now, what's gonna happen is it's gonna knock the bumps down. Oh, well, guess what I found? I found my stencil or my stapler. Because I found that because I'm looking for my water bottle. Another thing you can do is dilute the spray. So if I come back with the water bottle, and again, I wouldn't need to do this if I had let that background dry, but, oh, Dina, I don't even know what dropped. So by spraying it with water, I'm just rinsing some of that gloss spray off the top of the metallic, and then it will be a little more peek through for you. I think I'm going to be playing with gilt and night all day today. And of course the metallics look amazing on dark paint. They look great on dark or black gesso. Anything dark, they're really, really going to pop for sure. All right, one other fun little thing. So I get asked all the time, are you going to ever have any more metallic colors? And the answer is maybe. Maybe. However, you can give your metallics a pearlescent sheen by mixing, or not your metallics, excuse me. You can give your regular colors a pearlescent sheen by mixing them with the metallics. So I'm going to put some magenta out. And I'm going to take rosy. I can't find rosy, so we'll use sterling. Oh, there it is. Yeah, we'll use sterling. And then I'm going to mix those just with a palette knife. And the pigment from the magenta is going to take over. And it will change the magenta's original color because metallics are still a color. That's one thing you need to remember. The gray and the medieval are neutral. So those are, you know, think of the sterling and medieval as grays, okay? And then think of ancient and penny and gilt as oranges or yellows. And then think of rosy as a pink. But so if you put out blue like ocean and then you try to mix it with penny, you might end up with a muddy color, and it'll have a nice sheen to it. Because color theory still does apply for metallics when you're mixing, especially when you're mixing. Okay, so now I've got that nice and mixed. I'll hold this up. I don't know if you can see, but it doesn't look metallic pink, but what it looks like is pearly. Looks pearlescent. So it's kind of diluted that magenta down and diluted the sterling, and now it's got this really pretty pearlescent feel to it. So let's turn to a journal. Let's see what happens if I just mess around with this. Well, I did this earlier with the metallics. I used the metallic as the middle layer in this one here. Shiny mud, yeah. Maybe shiny mud's your deal. I'm pro shiny mud, sure. All right, white page. There's no gesso on this page. I can get a nice pearlescent. There are lots of paints out there that have, you know, cool pearly effects. Maybe you just don't have the exact color that you need. You can just mix it yourself. Which I really like. And smell good doing it. A little bit of sterling right in there. I want you to know that I used gloss spray last week and I put the lid back on. I know, it's shocking. Let's make a medieval. Maybe not. I'm going to take the fine line tip. Let that dry, paint the background, add some more flowers. You've got a fun, funky little accent flower that has a really pretty pearlescent sheen to it. I know, I put the lid on. It is shocking. Probably because I've been leaving the lids off them so severely, and then I'm like, dang it! You gotta put the lid on. And then you're going to drop the lid right in the flower that you just made, and you're just not going to care. Oh. Pretty. Let's give it a little gilt highlight. So just play. See what pearlescent colors you can come up with. I don't even know if that pearlescence is showing up very well, but it's fun. It's fun. All right, so those are the main ways that I use the metallics, and they're just fun. I like them in small quantities. I probably would never make an entire metallic background that I wasn't going to paint over with something else, because I like a little glitz, but I don't necessarily want like massive shine. But some people are metallic people. Like some people in class will just use the metallics to perfection, and they look really cool. And so it's kind of like a comfort level thing. But just remember, with that reflection from a metallic is going to draw your eye. It's going to pull your eye. So, you know, shiny where you want people to look. That fun? All right, questions. Questions. Hi, Diana. Anyone? Play with metallics today. Make sure you put your work in the Dina Wakley Media Kindred Spirits group, Kindred Artists, and hashtag Dina Wakley Media so I can see it. I think this is my favorite thing I've done all day. This with the metallic swipes as a highlight and the outline. And then I'm in love with these. Yeah, there's no focal point on this, so this would need a focal point. So I would probably stamp something and layer it in. Collage Collective, maybe. I'm kind of in love with these. And this is making me itch to do some more night and guilt combinations. That's so pretty. Why don't the sprays bead? They did bead a little bit on the metallic, actually. They actually did. This one you can see the beads. Can you see how the spray beaded up on the metallic at all? Not sure if it's showing up. Laura, you need to download the PDF first to your computer and then you can print it. Right click, save as, download it into your file. Cleaning brushes with Murphy oil soap. Murphy oil soap will help clean a brush. Again, don't soak it over the ferrule, but soak the bristles in Murphy's oil soap, and then you really can get a lot of dried junk out of your brushes. I meant the swatch page in the beginning. Oh, Victoria, I'm not sure. I missed your first comment. Sorry about that. Oh. Full strength what, Barb? Do the tips come with the bottles? They do not. They don't come with the bottles. You buy them separately. Just get your metallics out. A lot of people buy them and then, you know, we just don't use them. I thought it would be fun, even though I'm not showing you anything revolutionary here. But just as a little push to dig them out and play with them. Because I know I'm guilty of forgetting about them. And then, you know, I add little bits and think, oh, why do I not use these way more often? And then I'll go through phases where I'll use them a lot. But that's okay. That's part of that artistic process. Barbara, you can dilute it or use it full strength. It's really strong full strength, so maybe if your brush is completely solid. So make sure you're following Valley Stamp and Scrap. It's not Scrap and Stamp. Valley Stamp and Scrap. Linda is the owner of that lovely shop. She's fantastic. Will Diane's replacement tops for spray fit your gloss sprays? Probably. I would guess that they're all uniform with that opening. Super fun. Here's my skin flower again. Can you see the bits of metallic coming from the skins too? It almost looks like gold leaf, rosy leaf right there. So like a quote on that, and that's a card. Sew on it. Oh, I want to sew on that. Can't do that till my glue's dry. I've sewed over wet glue so many times. Oh my word. It's not... Sometimes impatience is not the best for me. Yeah. I end up ruining stuff, but such is life. Such is life. All right. Any other questions? Get those metallics out and play. And if you don't have them, now you know what they look like, and you can totally play with them. Start to collect them. Can you show us the tag you put in the journal? Sure. This is really wet, so I'm going to tear this out. Hold on. Otherwise, I can't turn the page. These are the ones in the journal. So this one was the metallic layered in between layers. So used second or third. And this one was starting with penny, masking it, and then adding the tissue. Remember, don't forget to paint your tissue with metallics. I mean, look at this one. I can't wait to use this one. I love that almost as a whole. I mean, that might end up in a page in with a large footprint because I like the way this looks. But that was just gilt on top of gloss sprayed tissue. Push it. You guys need to invent new techniques and let me know what you're doing. And then I always will credit you. You're probably better. You're probably much better at inventing things than I am. Because I tend to have, again, I'm not a technique junkie, really. I mean, I have some techniques I love, pet techniques, really, that I really enjoy, but I'm not like a technique collector kind of person. I like my basics, and that's what I do 80% of the time. Yeah, this was the white on white tissue sprayed with gloss spray, and then little brush dots of gilt on top of it. It just makes me so happy today. I don't know. It just makes me happy. And obviously I used this section for something else before I painted the gold on there. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. You rock the Casbah for showing up and being supportive. I really appreciate it. Any other questions? Let me know. But play with your metallics, my friends. Play, play, play. And make sure you post your results as well, because I adore swiping through my Instagram and seeing people when people have tagged Dina Wakely Media. It's one of my favorite things. My Instagram is full of ocean, kittens, and art. And it's just a delight to see what you guys create. It really is. You guys are talented artists. Caroline, your wish will be granted. I just don't know specific release dates. So, and I have let that spill in the past that I did test metallic sprays, and they are outstanding. They're outstanding. You guys are gonna die. They're so good. So those will be coming at some point. At some point. All right, my friends. Thanks, everyone. Have a great Tuesday. Sorry for all the blah, all the craziness. That was not my most slick demo today. I apologize. I actually don't know the gauge of the fine line tip, Lisa. That's a good question. Let me see if it says. It does not. It can't. It's not super narrow because otherwise my thick paint won't go through it. So my instructor exam is June the 6th, which is also my birthday. So my full instructor exam is June the 6th. So until then, I've just been going down to the shop, helping teach, because I'm an assistant instructor now. So I can help teach and learn and practice what's going to be on the full instructor exam. So I'm not worried about the teaching part. I'm worried about the written part where all the physics of diving is. That's the part that worries me. Everything else, I'm not worried. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day.